Good morning, guys. Welcome back. From today onwards, we are going to start with module 2 in our Java real-time project development. In this module, we are going to learn some real-time tools. So, as discussed, we are going to learn 20 plus real-time tools as part of this module. Okay. So, these tools are very important to work in the project development in the real time. Okay, so there are so many tools available like Maven, GitHub, Log4j, JUnit, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, SonarQube, EFK Stack, Jira. Like that, there are several tools available in the market. Now, let's understand how we are going to use those tools as part of our project development process in the real time. So first, let me tell you what is the workflow in the real time and what tools we are going to use in the real time. So the first thing is, guys, in the real time, the first step, once the project is finalized, now, so here Scrum Master will set up project in Jira. Scrum Master will set up a project in the Jira. So Jira is project management software. So by using Jira, task will be assigned to the team members. Which team member should perform which task, that will be assigned to the team members by using a tool called Jira. Jira is called as project management software. Scrum Master will set up a project in the Jira and team members will create that means all the developers, testers, team members will create stories in Jira and will assign stories to work. Story nothing but a task. That means story nothing but a task here. Good. So here Jira tool will be available. So everybody should use this Jira tool. Right? Scrum Master will set up the project in the Jira. Team members will create the stories in Jira and will assign the stories to work. Story means a task. Okay, so here when I say story means a task. That means when you go for the project, every day you need to use the Jira tool. Your task will be assigned to you in the Jira only, and once your task is completed, you need to update the task status also in the Jira tool only. So if you want to work in the real time, you need to know about the Jira. Jira is called as project management software. Then once the stories are created and stories are assigned, then what will happen? Developers, development team should send request to DevOps team to create GitHub repository for code integration, right? So multiple team members will be available in a project, and the team members will be working from different locations also. So all the team members code should be integrated at one place. So that's why we need to use GitHub repository or Bitbucket repository. So in the real time, we cannot create that repository directly. In the real time, we cannot create the GitHub repository directly. As a development team member, one of the team member, so in the development team, assume that there are 10 people available. 10 people, no need to send the email. One person in that team, one person will send the email to the DevOps team. Development team should send the request to the DevOps team to create GitHub or Bitbucket repository for code integration. So you should know how to work with the GitHub repository here. You should know how to work with the Jira tool here. Scrum Master will set up the project in the Jira. Team members will create the stories in Jira and will assign the stories to work. Story means a task. So what is your task for today? What you need to do today, that will be assigned to you in the Jira software. Jira is called as project management software. Then once the stories are assigned, your story is assumed that first story GitHub repository creation for the project. All the developers code should be integrated at one place. So for that, GitHub or Bitbucket repository is required. For that code integration, we need the repository. But who will create that repository? Development team member will create that repository. And so development team member will send the request to the DevOps team to create the repository or code integration. Once code is repository got created, now then what will happen? DevOps team, DevOps team will create Git repo, and will share repository URL. Okay, so they will create the Git repository for us and they will share the Git repository URL for us. Developer should create project skeleton using Maven or Gradle. Okay, so once the repository is created, so initially one person should create the skeleton of the project. That means creating the project, adding the dependency, creating the basic packages in the project. That project skeleton should be created. Developer should create a project skeleton using Maven or Gradle build tools. So nowadays we are developing the projects by using Spring Boot. So if you want to develop the project by using Spring Boot, then build it. If you want to develop a project by using Spring Boot, then build tools are mandatory. Either you need to use Maven or you need to use Gradle as a build tool. You need to use Maven or you need to use Gradle as a build tool. So as a developer, you should know how to work with Maven or Gradle. Okay, first one, Jira. Our journey will start with Jira every day. Every day morning, we need to see Jira tool for the tasks. If it is a new project, we need to send the request to the DevOps team to create the Git repository. DevOps team will create that repository and will share the repository URL for us. Then what developers should do once the repository is created? Developers should create a project skeleton using Maven or Gradle build tools. Developers should create a project skeleton using Maven or Gradle build tools here. Developers should create a project skeleton using Maven or Gradle build tools. So once it is completed, developer will push project skeleton to Git repository. Developer should know how to work with the Git repository. Developer should know how to work with the build tools like a Maven or Gradle. All right. Then once it is completed, developer will push project skeleton to the Git repository. Then other developers will clone Git repository and will start coding. All right. So one developer will send a request to the DevOps team to create the Git repository. Then DevOps team member will create that repository and will send the repository URL. Then once the repository URL is created, developer should create a project skeleton using Maven or Gradle build tools. And a developer will push that project skeleton to Git repository. Then other developers will clone that Git repository and they will start the coding part. Now, so as part of coding, developers should use debugging to understand code execution flow. Okay, whenever you are writing the code, some issues you are going to get, or your logic is not executing as expected, you need to check where you are doing the mistake. So to find out your mistakes in your logic, then you need to use debugging. So guys, let's understand what is our day-to-day activities as a developer in the project. And if you observe in our day-to-day activities, are we doing only coding or we are using tools also as part of our day-to-day activities? I'm telling you, what is the importance of tools in the company. I'm telling you what is the importance of tools in the company. So I'm telling you the day-to-day activities of developers in the project. So in our day-to-day activities, we are doing only Java coding, or we are using several tools also. So we joined here for Java real-time project development. So you need to understand how the projects are getting developed in the real time. What is the workflow in the real time? What is the workflow in the real time that you need to understand? So first, our journey will every day our journey will start with Jira. So we will log in into Jira and we will see, we will log in into the Jira and we will see what is the task that is assigned for us. We will log in into Jira and we will see what is the task that is assigned for us. So if it is a new project, then we need to send the request to the DevOps team to create the Git repository for the code integration. Then DevOps team will create that Git repository and will send the Git repository URL for us. They will create the Git repository and they will send the Git repository URL for us. Okay, then developer should create a project skeleton and should use Maven or Gradle build tools to create the project. So currently we don't create project without using build tools. So developers should use Gradle or Maven in order to create the build tools. Then developer will push the project to the Git repository so that other developers will take that Git repository. Other developers will take that Git repository and they will start the coding. Whenever we are doing the coding, we need to write some logics. We will implement some logic. So we need to check our logics are working as expected or not. So to check the logics working as expected or not, we are going to use debugging concept. We need to know the debugging. And the next one, once coding is completed, we need to test our backend code using Postman. There is a tool called Postman. So nowadays we are developing the REST APIs for the backend. When the backend REST API is developed, we need to test that the backend functionality working as expected or not by using one tool that is called Postman. Once the coding is completed, we need to test our backend APIs functionality by using one tool called Postman. Then we need to perform code review. We need to perform code review using SonarQube. We need to perform code review using SonarQube software. So SonarQube software is used to identify the mistakes in the code. That means, are you following proper coding standards or not? Are you following proper coding standards or not? We are going to check that by using SonarQube. Once the coding is completed, we need to test our backend API's functionality by using Postman. So we need to do the debugging as part of our coding. And once the code is completed, test that functionality by using Postman. And once we are ready with our code, we need to review the code by using SonarQube and implement unit testing for the project by using JUnit. And one more thing, implement logging in the application to trace execution details. Of the application. Okay, implement logging in the project, implement logging in the application to trace execution details. Implement logging in the application by using log4j. Okay, logging is used to trace execution details of the application. So whenever you are doing the coding, then you need to implement logging so that you will understand how the application is getting executed. So you should know how to work with this log4j. And once logging is completed, so we need to check the monitor application logs by using ELK stack and all. I will come to that point later. Are you guys able to understand the flow in the project development in the real time, guys? Scrum Master, Jira tool. Jira is used to create the stories. DevOps team will create the repository in the GitHub that is used for code integration. Developers should create the project. To create the project, we will use a build tool like Maven or Gradle. Okay, once the project is created, developers will push that project into Git repository. Other developers will clone that repository and they will start the coding part. As part of coding, developers should use debugging to understand code execution flow. As part of coding, developers should use debugging to understand code execution flow. Once coding is completed, we need to test our backend API's functionality by using Postman. Once coding is completed, we need to test our backend API's functionality by using Postman. And as part of the coding, we need to do the code review also. To perform the code review, we are going to use a SonarQube. And we need to implement logging in the application by using Log4j. This logging is used to trace execution details of the application. Okay, and we need to implement performance testing on the project. Implement performance testing on the project using JMeter. So whatever the code we developed, how much time it is taking to execute that code. Okay, so we need to test our code using 1,000 users, 10,000 users, 1 lakh users. So in order to test our code with multiple users, we are going to use one software called JMeter. JMeter is used for performance testing. JMeter is used for performance testing. Implement performance testing on the project by using JMeter software. Implement performance testing on the project by using JMeter. What is the meaning of performance testing? If one user accessing our application, how much time it is taking? If 100 users access our application at a time, how much time it will take? If 1,000 users access our application at a time, how much time it is taking? Okay, like this, we need to test our application behavior. We need to do the load testing. We need to do the performance testing, and we need to check the stability of the application. To check the stability of the application, we are going to use a tool called JMeter. Okay, and the next one, developers should write Docker file. Developers should write Docker file to containerize the application. So nowadays people are using Docker in order to run our application. So developers should know what is a Docker and how to write a Docker file. So as a developer, we should know how to write the Docker file to containerize the application using Docker. So developers should know how to work with the Docker. Developers should know how to work with the Docker. Then next one, developers will send email to DevOps team to create Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Okay, developers should write the Docker file to containerize the application using Docker and commit that to and push into Git repository and push it to Git repo. So to execute the application by using Docker, what Docker file is required? Developers are responsible to write that Docker file, and developers will share that Docker file in the Git repository. Once our Docker file is ready, developers will send the email to the DevOps team to create Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so Jenkins pipeline is used to automate our project build and deployment process. You are committing the code to Git repository. So to deploy that code into the Kubernetes cluster, we need one Jenkins pipeline. Okay, developers will send the email to DevOps team to create the Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. As part of CI/CD pipeline, DevOps team will configure several tools to automate project build and deployment process. Okay, project build and deployment process will be automated. Let me show you how the project build and deployment process will be available in the real time. Okay, so in some projects, in some projects, developers only will create that Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. In some projects, DevOps team is going to create the CI/CD pipeline. So how the CI/CD pipeline will be available? Let's look at this. So these all tools will be available. These are called DevOps tools. How the CI/CD pipeline will be available in the real time. Okay, so let me show you the flow. Let me show you the flow, how the CI/CD pipeline will be available. So in the real time, the project deployment will happen like this. Now, so the development team will be available. Development team will write the code and they will push the code into Git repository. Git repository is a place where all the project to source code will be integrated. Then once the code is available, we need to deploy that code from the GitHub. So Jenkins will be available. So we will create the pipeline in the Jenkins. So some projects, developers only creating the pipelines. In some projects, DevOps team is creating the pipeline. Now, once the pipeline is ready, we need to run the pipeline. When we run the pipeline, what will happen? Jenkins will take the code from the Git repository. Then Jenkins will talk to the Maven. Jenkins will take the code from the Git repository and Jenkins will talk to Maven to build the project. Then Jenkins will talk to the Sonar Cube, which is used to perform the code review. Then it is going to talk to Nexus repository where our project artifact will be uploaded. Okay, once it is done, the Jenkins will talk to the Docker. It is going to create a Docker image. Docker is used for containerizing our application. Once the Docker image is created, finally the project will be deployed into Kubernetes. Kubernetes is called orchestration software. So in the real time, project deployment will be automated like this. In the real time, project deployment will be automated like this. Developers will write the code and developers will push the code into Git repository. Then Jenkins pipeline will be available. When we run the Jenkins pipeline, it has to take the code from the Git repository and it has to perform the code review by using, it will communicate with the Maven, it will build the project, that means it will compile the project and it will package the project by using Maven. Then code review will happen by using Sonar. Then Nexus artifact will be uploaded. Then Docker image will be created. Then finally the deployment will happen in the Kubernetes cluster. So this pipeline will be created by DevOps people. We need to send a request to the DevOps team to create this CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration and continuous deployment. Whenever the code changed in the Git repository, immediately we need to take that code, we need to build that code, we need to review that code, we need to upload that artifact, create the Docker image, then finally deploy that project into Kubernetes cluster. Finally deploy that project into Kubernetes cluster. This is the workflow. Are you guys able to follow me? So who is responsible to create this kind of pipelines? Who is responsible to create this kind of pipeline? Some projects, in some projects, DevOps team is creating the pipelines. In some projects, developers are creating the pipelines. Now tell me guys, without knowing all these tools, can you work in the project in the real time? Without knowing all these tools, can you work in the project in the real time? Without knowing all these tools are very, very, very important in the real project development. That's why these are called as real-time tools. These are called as real-time tools. So I'm just telling the day-to-day activities of the developer. So how we are going to use these tools in the real time, that is what I'm explaining. Okay, CI/CD pipeline will be available. Okay, Kubernetes. DevOps team will deploy the project into Kubernetes cluster. DevOps team will deploy our project into Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes will be used as an orchestration platform. Our final project deployment will happen in the Kubernetes cluster. Our final project deployment will happen in the Kubernetes cluster. Then developers should monitor logs of the application. Developers should monitor logs of the application by using ELK or Splunk software. Log monitoring. So we are implementing logging by using Log4j. By using Log4j, we are implementing the project. Okay. By using Log4j, we are going to store the log messages. That means whenever the project is running, so if any problem occurs in the project, we should find out the problems, right? For that, we are going to use logging in the project. So when the logging is available, log monitoring is required. So application log files will be available. We need to monitor the log files of our application. So to monitor the log files of our application, we are going to use some log monitoring tools. We are going to use some log monitoring tools. Are you getting my point? So developers should monitor logs of the application. For that, we are going to use some ELK or Splunk softwares. So you should know how to monitor the logs of the application. By using ELK and Splunk, we can monitor the logs of the application. By using ELK and Splunk softwares, we can monitor the logs of the application. Are you able to follow me? Are you able to follow me? What are our day-to-day activities? Are you able to follow me? What are our day-to-day activities in the real time? Yes. First, Jira. So Scrum Master will create the projects in the Jira and will create the stories. So for pending tasks, what all the pending things available in the project? For those pending tasks, we are going to create the stories in the Jira. Then GitHub. So we will send a request to the DevOps team to create the Git repository for the code integration. DevOps team will create the repository and will share the repository URL. As a developer, one person will create the project by using Maven or Gradle. That project will be stored into Git repository. Then other developers will take the project from the Git repository and they will start the coding part. Okay. So as part of the coding, developers should use debugging to understand code execution flow. As part of the development, we are going to use the debugging and we are going to write the code and we are going to test that code. Okay. So as part of the coding, we are going to use some tools like Kafka, Redis. As part of coding, developers should use debugging to understand code execution flow based on project requirement. Based on project requirements, we will use Kafka plus Redis to implement our microservices. Right? So my project want to use message broker. My project want to send the data to other project. For that, we are going to use Apache Kafka as a message queue. My project wants to communicate with the Kafka. Kafka is a message broker. So as a developer, you should know how to work with Apache Kafka. My project want to use distributed cache. For that, we need to use Redis. So based on the project requirements, we will use Kafka and Redis to implement our microservices. So once our coding is completed, we need to test our backend API's functionality by using Postman. So Postman is a tool which is used to test our backend APIs. So we need to perform code review by using SonarQube. Whatever the logic we have implemented, are we following the coding standards or not? Is there any duplicate code available in our logic? So we need to find out the developer's mistakes. Okay, we need to find the developer's mistakes by using code review. To do that code review, we are going to use one software called SonarQube. And in our project, we are going to implement logging by using Log4j. So by using logging, we can understand execution details of the application and we can identify errors occurred in the application. We can identify root cause of the exceptions. So when the code is executing, lot of problems we are going to face. So what kind of problems we are facing, why we are facing those problems, we need to find out root cause of the problem. To find out the root cause of the problems, we are going to use logging in our project. Okay, then implement performance testing on the project by using JMeter. So how much time your code is taking to execute? Is it taking 1 second? Is it taking 2 seconds? For 1,000 people, how much time it is taking? For 1,000 people, how much time? For 10,000 people, how much time? We need to check the stability of the application by using a tool called JMeter. Okay, then once everything is ready for the deployment purpose, we will use Docker, Kubernetes, and Jenkins. Okay, so developers are responsible to write the Docker file to deploy the project by using Docker containers. Okay, so we should know how to work with the Docker. We need to write the Docker file to containerize the application using Docker and push that Docker file to Git repository. And the developers will send the email to the DevOps team to create Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Very important tool. CI/CD means continuous integration and continuous deployment. As part of this CI/CD pipeline, they will configure several tools to automate build and deployment process like Git, Maven, Jenkins, SonarQube, Nexus, Docker, Kubernetes. Lot of tools will be integrated in the pipeline, and developers are responsible to execute that pipeline. DevOps team will deploy our project into Kubernetes cluster using Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Using Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so developers can run the pipeline. Developers can run Jenkins pipeline. Jenkins pipeline when we need to when we want to deploy latest code. Okay, we are doing the coding and our code will be integrated in the Git repository, and when we want to deploy that code, we can go and run that CI/CD pipeline. That CI/CD pipeline will take the code from the GitHub, will build that code by using Maven, will review that code by using Sonar, artifact will be uploaded to Nexus, and Docker image will be created. Finally, that Docker image will be deployed into Kubernetes cluster. Finally, that Docker image will be created that will be stored into Kubernetes cluster. Are you clear with my point? And once our application is running, there is a chance of getting problems. There is a chance of facing some exceptions in the application. Developers should monitor logs of the application by using that ELK or Splunk softwares. So in the real time, this is the workflow, guys. As a developer, you need to follow this process. As a developer, you need to follow this process. Now, as part of this process, we are going to use a lot of tools. Now tell me, this course is not for freshers, or freshers also should learn this course? Only experienced people has to follow this? Freshers also should follow this? Only experienced people will follow this, or freshers also should follow this? Everybody. So if you learn these tools, then only you can survive in the project. So if you are a Java developer, only writing the Java code is not your responsibility. As a Java developer, you need to work like this. In the real time, this is the culture. In the real time, this is the process that we need to follow. So whatever the tools I have mentioned here, all those tools we are going to learn as part of our course. And we are going to develop our projects in the same way. We are going to develop our projects in the same way. Then only it is called as real-time project. Then only it is called as real-time project. We are going to follow all this process. We are going to follow all this process. Are you clear with my point? Are you clear with my point? Right. Now, let me give the summary of what all the tools that I have given here. What is the process? Do you want to read it again? Anybody want to read out? Anybody want to read the process? Anybody want to read the process? Just I want you to read these points, whatever are mentioned. Tarun want to read it? Yeah, Tarun. Mr. Tarun, can you unmute your mic?
Hey, hi.
Yeah, hi Tarun. So just introduce about yourself and tell me what is the process that we need to follow on day-to-day basis. So these are day-to-day activities of the developers, guys. Yeah, Tarun, just go ahead.
Right. So myself, I just started working in a project, which is like a maintenance project.
Mhm,
So I actually am going through every bit of it, but I didn't know how the exact flow was until you actually told us.
mhm.
Yeah. That was actually a good introduction on this.
Yep.
Hope we'll go deeper in there.
Yeah, you are
So
having how many years of experience, Tarun?
just one.
1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, you're working as a Java developer.
I mean,
Uh,
basically a Java developer, but in the maintenance, I've never written a code or something. I just keep fixing things.
okay,
And
so what are the tools are there in your project?
so, starting with Jira, we just use that to get our stories. And
Okay,
next, we have GitHub where we push our code.
yeah.
And coming to DevOps, we exactly don't know how DevOps is, but we have some CI/CD pipeline tool. I don't know with the exact name of it,
Mhm,
unfortunately. And we are
mhm,
using Maven as a build tool. So
mhm.
it's actually a I mean, a Spring Boot project which uses microservices, basically a different number of repositories it has.
Mhm.
And we just do this debugging every day to in the maintenance project just to understand the flow since we are not the ones who actually wrote the code.
Correct.
And we are also using Apache Kafka. I know how Apache Kafka actually works in real time, but I don't know how to create our own topic or something like that. I
Okay.
hope we're gonna create a topic of our own and set it up in our project.
Yep.
Yeah, and can you scroll down a little bit, sir? Yeah. So yeah, next, I mean, the Postman and Swagger is what we use to test the backend APIs.
Yes, here we can add Swagger also. Swagger also can be used to test the API and it is also used for documentation purpose.
Right. And the Sonar Cube to test I mean, it just gives the percentage, I remember,
Yeah,
like
code
each
quality
percent of
percentage.
code is having if there are any bugs which are high priority or which are low priority or something like that.
Yeah, and one more point I missed here. Implement the unit testing in the project by using JUnit.
Hmm.
Implement unit testing in the application using JUnit to tool. Correct.
Yeah. And log4j, I mean, I just use this logger.info, logger.debug. That's it. I don't know much deeper in there. But
Okay.
yeah, we use log4j as well to write the loggers.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, JUnit, we are using some JUnit 4, I guess,
Yeah.
to test that methods, whichever the methods we write. Uh, and JMeter, I do not know if we can use JMeter for our current project. I mean, this is something new to me. If we
Mm-hmm.
can use this for our current project, this will be a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And next is this Docker file. I'm just aware of it. I think I know about these containers, but specifically do not know if they are using Dockers or something for it.
Mm-hmm.
And CI/CD again. Okay. And next we use this Kubernetes to deploy our code and check our logs. I mean, basically the same logs which we see when we run it in local, like in IntelliJ or Eclipse, the
Mm-hmm.
same logs which we see in the Kubernetes pod logs.
Correct. Kubernetes pods in the pods, our application containers will be available. All the pod logs will segregate at one place by using ELK or Splunk.
Right.
What is the log monitoring tool you are using in the project?
Kubernetes itself.
No, no. In the Kubernetes application will execute. Logs will be segregated. So the logs will be stored into one common point. That is maybe ELK or Splunk they will use.
Oh, Splunk is what we use, but in the Kubernetes as well, we usually just use Kubernetes to get the latest logs.
Okay.
Splunk is what we use.
Yeah. So all the Kubernetes pod logs will be pointed to the Splunk software. We will
Right.
monitor the logs by using that Splunk.
Hmm.
Very good, sir. So I hope almost all the tools you are using except JMeter.
Yes, except JMeter. Yeah, JMeter I'm not aware of yet.
JMeter is used for performance testing. So it
So
is used to check how quickly your application is responding for the users.
can we add to this to an existing project?
Yes, yes, yes. If you can take the URL and you can test it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Good guys. So fine. I hope you got the clarity. How much important these tools for the Java developer. And in these tools, some of the tools are used by DevOps people also. DevOps people will work with Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, Jira, Maven, SonarQube, Nexus. All these things will be used by DevOps people also in the project. So if you know, if you complete these course, these tools right, then 50% of the DevOps also you know. You will understand 50% of DevOps operations in the project. 50% of DevOps operations also you can do in your project if you have strong knowledge on all these tools. Anyone else want to share their experience in their project? Yeah, Ravindra want to explain. Yeah, hi Ravindra.
Sir, hi sir.
Hi, good morning. So tell
Good
me
morning.
how many years of experience you have?
Currently, I'm running with my seventh year, sir.
7 years experience. Yeah. So
No,
can you
seventh year. It's seventh year
seven
running, 6 years, six
6
plus.
years completed? Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell me Ravindra. So do you have all these tools in your project?
exactly, sir. But for Jira, I have used multiple tools instead of Jira. First thing is Jira. After
Mhm.
that, version one is there. Now we are using Rally in our project.
Rally. Okay, good. Yeah.
It come there here in what is the specialty of Rally is we can list out the features to everyone. In Jira we can't. Only Scrum
Oh,
Master or
yes.
product owners only able to see that one. Here we can see, we can select or we can go through the stories what are all coming in future sprints or future process improvement sessions.
Okay. Okay.
Second one, development team should send a request to the DevOps team to create GitHub or Bitbucket repository. Yeah, this is as it is it happened. In my case, completely I have used GitHub only. There is no Bitbucket I have used.
Okay.
Uh, okay, DevOps team should create a project skeleton. Maven. This is also yes, same sir. We need to get that project and we need to include our changes individually without having any code conflicts.
Correct. So repository will be created by the DevOps team.
Yeah,
Developer should create the project skeleton
project.
and
Yeah.
should push that project into Git repository. Correct.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Next one.
Next one, as a part of developer should use debugging to understand code flow. This is as usual. Whenever a new developer comes, we would be giving the Git repository link. They would be cloning them with the help of either STS or IntelliJ, whatever they based on their priority, and they will go through the code. Once the feature introduction has been completed, they would be going through the flow for 10 to 15 days. They would be remained without any work, and then after 15 days they would be getting assigned.
Correct.
Based on project requirements, we will use Kafka or Redis. Redis is a caching tool, right, sir? But Kafka is we would be taking on data, we would be posting and processing it for
Yeah.
future
Kafka is used to process real-time data feeds as a streaming platform. Redis is used for
cache.
cache implementation to speed up the performance of the application. By reducing the database calls, we can speed up the performance. For that, we can go for
Sir,
Redis cache.
okay, Redis mechanism we will discuss in our project.
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever the tools I have listed, everything we are going to discuss.
Okay. Yeah, once coding is completed, we will be testing. Yeah, this point is as it is, sir. We need to write Swagger implementation with the help of Open API.
Within Swagger, Open API doc is available.
Open API doc. We will generate our Swaggers with respect to our APIs.
Yeah.
That would be scanned and using with the help of localhost colon some port number /swagger-ui.
Correct. Correct.
And after that, whenever we launch our application, we will be using our postman. By providing some request body, we will get our output in the response pane.
Correct.
We need to perform the code review using Scholar. This is for vulnerabilities or whatever we are having
To
some
check
code
the coding
glitches.
standards,
Yeah,
all the team members are following
code
the coding
smells.
standards or
Yeah,
not.
tech
Any code
debts.
smells available, any duplicate code is
Yeah.
available in the project, we can identify by using this Sonar Cube.
Yeah, implement logging in the application using Log4j. Logging is used to trace. Yeah, yes, sir. This is as is, but I know till the writing of the statements of the loggers using SLF4j. After that, how we would be redirecting them to ELF or
ELT
Scrum
stack.
dashboards.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That part I am not aware how they were redirecting.
Okay, got it.
And after this thing, once everything is tested in local, this is the same we used to follow, that we would be writing JUnits with the help of JUnit 5.
Yeah, JUnit plus mocking also we need to use.
Yeah, yeah.
To implement unit testing of our code.
Yes. Here in performance testing, we were not aware how it would be performing. That would be taken care by the tester.
Yeah, separate performance testing team will be available. So here there are two tools. Free tool is JMeter. Paid tool is Load Runner. HP Load Runner is a paid tool to perform the performance testing. If you want to go with free tool, JMeter is available for that.
Yeah. Next point, 30th line. For Docker file, we need to get in collaborate with the DevOps team to specify our requirement, complete our Docker implementation.
Okay. Yeah. Nowadays, companies are expecting developers to take care of this.
After any issues comes, developer is responsible to resolve.
Yes.
Developers will send email to DevOps team to create Jenkins. This is as it is. But whatever the expectation is, nowadays, for past 2 sprints, our developers are taking care this
Of
one,
the
creating Jenkins pipeline also.
Yes, right. Even in my project, developers will create the pipelines.
DevOps team will deploy our project. Yeah, here somewhat little different, sir. What DevOps team will be doing is they have created a platform in Hydra Cloud.
Okay.
And they have created a few automated pipelines, what we can say XLR template. In the template, we need to configure our Jenkins job of particular Git branch, whatever we are using.
Okay.
It would be taking to the dev environment. If we pause there, it will stop. Once everything is tested, we will promote to the next environment. Likewise, we have access till pre-production.
Okay. Okay.
Developers can run Jenkins pipeline when we in previous project we used to run direct Jenkins job, but here it is fully automated, whatever I am using.
Correct.
Developers should monitor logs on the application. Right now we are using ELF dashboard.
Okay.
Based on each and every application or each and every service, it would be bearing one char ID.
Correct.
Using that char ID, we were able to redirect to the application. If we select an application service name, it would be showing the particular logs based on the keywords, whatever we are mentioning in our logs. We can get those logs and we can identify the issue, how it is happening.
Correct, sir. Good. So this is the process, guys. That as developer, these are the day-to-day activities. As a developer, these are our day-to-day activities. And so when you go for the interview also, they will ask this question. So can you tell me what are your day-to-day activities in the project? So this is the process. So in the real time, we are going to follow all this process. So lot of tools involved in our day-to-day activity in the company, guys. So please remember. So as a developer, only writing the code is not sufficient. You need to have hands-on experience on all these tools, practical experience you should have on all these tools. Then only you can survive in the real-time project development process. If you want to survive in the IT company, then you should know all these tools. Without knowing these tools, you can't work in the real time. Without knowing all these tools, you can't work in the real time. Okay, so today just I have explained what is the process, what is the tool. Some people don't know what is Kafka, what is Redis, what is Postman, what is Sonar. Forget about it. All these tools we are going to discuss from zero to hero level in our course. Sir, what is Kafka? Some people are asking in the chat box, what is Kafka? Some people are asking in the chat box, what is Splunk? What is JUnit? So you just remember the names. What is the purpose of that? That we are going to discuss in our course. How to install that tool, how to use that tool, how to use that tool in the project, what kind of challenges we will face in the real time with these tools, how to resolve those problems, everything from zero to hero level. I'm going to explain all the 20 tools that I have mentioned here. So you don't worry about that. Okay. So first I told you Jira tool we are going to use in the project. So Jira tool that is used for project management as well as for the bug reporting. Okay. So which task you need to do in the project, that task will be assigned to you through Jira software only. Okay. So that Jira software will be managed by Scrum Master in the project. Who is a Scrum Master? In the Agile methodology, I will explain who is the Scrum Master. Okay. So we are going to learn Agile methodology. As part of the Agile methodology, I will tell you who is a Scrum Master, who is a product owner, who is a tech lead, team members, Agile process, what is backlog grooming, sprint planning, Scrum call, everything we are going to discuss in the Agile methodology. That we are going to start from Monday only. Monday we will understand who is a Scrum Master. Okay, so in the project we are going to use Jira, that is used for project management as well as for bug reporting. Okay, then once it is done, we are going to use GitHub or Bitbucket platforms in the project. So these are called as source code repository servers. All the project code should be stored at one place. So in a project, multiple team members will be available. Some people are in Hyderabad, some people are in Bangalore, some people are in Chennai, US, UK, Australia, like that. Our team is working from different locations. So all the developers code should be integrated at one place. That's where GitHub or Bitbucket repositories we are going to use. GitHub or Bitbucket repository we are going to use for storing the source code of our project. Okay, then once it is done, to create a project, we need some build tools like Maven or Gradle. So some projects are using Maven, some projects are using Gradle. These are called as build tools of our application. This Maven and Gradle are called as build tools of our project. Okay, and in our project, we are going to use log4j plus slf4j. So these are used for logging tools. So that means application execution details should be stored to a log file. So what is logging? How to do the logging? We will discuss in the class. So logging will be available for a project. To implement logging of our application, log4j and slf4j tools will be available. The next one, once the logging is available, then ELK or Splunk tools will be available. These are used to implement log monitoring. Okay, log monitoring tools. To generate the log messages to the file, log4j, slf4j. To read the log message, to store the messages in the log file, these tools, logging tools. Okay, store the log messages. Store log messages and read the log messages. To store the messages, one tool is available. To read log messages, another tool is available. So these are used to store the log messages. These are used to read the log messages, right? Log4j is used to implement logging in the project. ELK and Splunk is used for logs reading. We want to monitor logs of our application. Then next one, JUnit plus mocking. Okay, we need to perform unit testing of our application. When we are developing a project, for the project, unit testing is very important. So to implement the unit testing for our application, we are going to use JUnit plus mocking. Okay, unit testing means to check whether our code is working as expected or not. Our code is working as expected or not. And as part of the project, we will use a Kafka. Okay, so what is this Kafka? Kafka is acting as a message broker, and we can also call it as streaming platform. So to send the data from one application to another application, we will use a Kafka as a mediator. Or Kafka is used to process the real-time data feeds. So if you see, Event-driven microservices like Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, Ola, Rapido, all these kind of applications will be using Apache Kafka as a streaming platform. So we will discuss what is Kafka, how to work with the Kafka, right? Then next one, in our project, Redis tool will be available, distributed caching. So instead of getting the data every time from the database, we can implement some cache in our project so that we can reduce number of database calls and we can improve performance of our application. For that, we are going to use Redis cache in our project. Kafka is used for streaming platform. Kafka is used to process the real-time data. Redis is used for distributed cache. Then next one. So here Postman will be available. The purpose of the Postman to test backend APIs. To test backend APIs, we are going to use this Postman. And the next one, Swagger will be available. That Swagger to generate API documentation. To test the API, Postman. To generate the documentation, then we will go for Swagger. All right. And the next one, we will be using one tool called Docker. So when I go for a Docker is called containerization software. In order to deploy our application in any machine very easily, we are going to use Docker. Docker is used for containerization. Then next one, Kubernetes will be available in the project. So the Kubernetes is used for orchestration. Docker is called as containerization software, which is used to run the application as a container. And Kubernetes will be available. Kubernetes is used for orchestration platform. That means management. Deployments will happen. Manage application deployments. Right? Kubernetes will be available. Then Jenkins will be available in the project. Jenkins will be available in the project for CI/CD, for continuous integration and for continuous deployment, to automate build plus deployment. So whatever the build and deployment we are doing manually, everything will be automated by using Jenkins pipeline. Okay. Then we have JMeter. SonarQube is available. JMeter is available. SonarQube is used for code review. Okay, so we need to check code quality checks, guys. Code quality checking. Is our code is following proper standards or not? Is there any vulnerability available in the code? Is there any duplicate lines of code available? All kind of developers mistakes. All developers mistakes we are going to identify by using a tool called SonarQube. And we are going to use JMeter tool. Okay, that JMeter to implement performance testing for load testing, or I can say for load testing or for performance testing. Load or performance testing. We want to see the behavior of the application when more number of users are accessing at a time. When more number of users accessing our application at a time, what is the behavior of the application? We are going to understand by using these tools. Jira, which is used for project management and bug reporting. GitHub and Bitbucket for source code repository. Maven and Gradle build tools. Log4j to implement logging. ELK to monitor the logs. JUnit mocking for unit testing. Jacoco code coverage tool. I forgot to mention Jacoco tool, which is used for code coverage. We are going to see the code coverage. When we are doing the unit testing, code coverage is important. For code coverage, we are going to use a tool called Jacoco. Kafka, which is used for message broker. Streaming platform. To do the real-time data processing, we will use Kafka. Redis, that is used for distributed cache. Postman, which is used to test our backend APIs. Swagger, to generate API documentation. Docker, which is used for containerization. Kubernetes, which is used for orchestration. Jenkins, which is used for CI/CD. SonarQube for code quality checking. JMeter for load testing. Jacoco for code coverage. ELK or Splunk will be available. To, I think already I have given here. ELK or Splunk for reading the log messages. logging will be available and log monitoring will be available. So log4j to store the log messages, ELK stack to read the log messages. So around 20 tools 20 plus tools we are going to learn. Here we are going to learn both GitHub and Bitbucket. And the Nexus is available to store the artifacts, shared libraries. Nexus, Artifactory server to store jars and wars. Whatever the jar files and war files we are using in the project, what are the jar files and war files we are using in the project? Those jar files and war files we are going to store by using Nexus repository, which is called Artifactory server. To store the jar files and war files of our application, we will use Nexus. The alternate for the Nexus is JFrog. Some companies are using Nexus, some companies are using JFrog. In our course, I am going to cover Nexus. Nexus and JFrog tools will be available. They are used for storing artifacts of the application. I will cover Nexus here. Nexus, JFrog, both are used for same purpose. Are you clear with my point? So this is very important in order to work with all these tools. As a developer, you should know how to work with all these tools. Just read the names of the tools, guys. Just read the names of the tools. Gemfire is also related to cache only. Some people are using Gemfire, some people are using Redis for the cache platform. Guys, tools that we are going to cover, tools that every Java developer should know. These are the tools that every Java developer should know to perform our day-to-day activities in the project. Tools that every Java developer should know to perform our day-to-day activities: Jira, project management, and bug reporting; GitHub, Bitbucket, source code repository; Maven or Gradle, build tools; Log4j, logging; ELK for log monitoring; JUnit for mocking for unit testing; Kafka for message broker; Redis for distributed cache; Postman to test backend API; Swagger to generate API documentation; Docker containerization; Kubernetes orchestration. Okay, Jenkins for CI/CD; SonarQube for code quality checking; JMeter for performance testing; Jacopo for code coverage; Nexus to store the artifacts. So In the project, in our real-time project development course, we are going to learn 20 plus real-time tools, 20 plus real-time tools. And what is the process also that we follow here? This is our process, how we are going to use these tools, our day-to-day activities as a developer. And every Java developer, irrespective of your experience, whether you are having 1 year experience or whether you are having 10 years experience, whether you are a fresher, irrespective of your experience, you should know how to work with all these tools, and you should have practical knowledge with all these tools. So as part of the course, we are going to cover these tools, guys. 20 plus real-time tools we are going to learn as part of our course. Is it clear for everybody? Is it clear for everybody? Good. So from Monday, we are going to start with our tools, guys. From Monday onwards, we are going to start with our tools. Good. So Monday, I'm going to start with Agile methodology with the Jira. So the very first tool that we need to understand for the project is Jira, how the Jira dashboards will be created, how the stories will be created in the Jira, how the stories will be assigned in the Jira. We are going to discuss in the Monday session. Okay, good. Tomorrow no class. We'll meet on Monday. Good, guys. Thank you.